So, if you're all willing to forget that a kingdom world of Remnant already exists, so am I, because that video is terrible and should be ashamed of itself. I'm finally back and here to give you my thoughts on the RWBY World of Remnant videos for Volume 4. If you haven't already, check out my previous video, which gives my thoughts on the miniseries as a whole, as well as a breakdown of the ones we got in Volume 3. If you're curious about my thoughts on the ones in Volume 2, they're all terrible. You don't have to bother watching that video. Verdict is still out on if these are going to go the same way the previous volumes did. I'd like to think not, especially with how quickly we got them. So, if my guess is right, this is all basic knowledge for the characters. This is the kind of stuff that everyone in the world already knows about, which is good for validating their existence, because now if any of the information here is said in series, it'll just be clunky and unnecessary. I like how they are presented. Not visually, mind you, the second batch is better on that part. The complaint I had with the other two sets is that the narrators were too detached from what they were saying. Vic Mignogna had already become one of the most entertaining parts last year, and having him narrate things as Crow is a real treat. It goes along with one of the final lines in Volume 3. Picking up where Ozpin left off, that's more of an in-universe explanation though. What a lot of people forget is that Crow is also a teacher at Signal, so these videos actually give some possible insight on what he was like as a teacher, which is still funny. He adds a lot of personality and little character bits into the exposition, as well as just being generally entertaining. The first video is on Vale, or, well, that's a bit misleading. He only spends half the video talking about Vale, and the other half is restating some stuff from the Kingdom video, and giving some too obvious foreshadowing on stuff that's already been laid on pretty thick in previous videos. We see once again that settlements and villages pop up and disappear in a constant state of flux due to the Grimm. We do get a glimpse that there used to be a kingdom on the dragon-looking continent, but there isn't anymore. Bets on that being where Salem is. The only thing we learn about Vale is that it's freaking boring. Wait, was that not what I was meant to get out of this? The continent is Saunas, mountains to the east, shallow seas to the west, expansions like Mountain Glen Vale, patches and island in the Vale territories, yada yada yada. Everyone was happy until the Fire Nation attacked, Cinder. Mistral is a bit more interesting. I don't know why it was second. I would think it should have been the last, since it's the final destination for presumably the next couple volumes. Regardless, Mistral and the continent of Anima has the most diverse territory, which makes for the most diverse culture. So it's kind of like America. They have all sorts of people and are at the center of the arts, but because of its size, the criminal underworld runs rampant. My god, it is like America. If nothing else, I'm glad the video shut people up about where Cinder is from, and where she picked up Emerald and Mercury. I've said it numerous times on forums and posts, but there is no conceivable reason why Cinder would lie about where she is from. In fact, saying that she's from Mistral and telling the truth about that may cause an investigation into Haven Academy, where they'll actually find that she did study there, that she did have a team, and then blame would be put on the Haven headmaster. Then we got the people on the top of the world, as Crow says. Atlas is on the continent of Solitus, and can we please get a freaking timeline for this? Seriously, I can't be the only one confused about the information we got here. It's been 80 years since the end of the Great War. We had all been left to assume that after the war, Mantle was the kingdom and Atlas was just the capital or something. Now it turns out that there was already a combat school? Before the Great War, mind you. And that was Atlas after the war. Then, because it became so influential, the capital was moved there. And so then why has Mantle been referred to as defunct? Isn't it still a city? Isn't it still the same, like, people in chart? Ugh. Crow makes it seem like it's still a city, and it doesn't seem like there was any kind of major shakeups that caused this change. So it's just a change in capital. Why is it considered a different kingdom entirely? We really need that blasted timeline. Oh, and there's the whole thing about the whole kingdom being built on technology, because apparently temperatures are cold enough to freeze Grimm and aren't enough to keep settlers from digging Minecraft holes and finding redstone. At least it's a good reason for the Schnees to be there. Too bad they didn't stay there and they had to go mess up the guys who had it right. Baguio seems like a response to the sociology argument against RWBY, while also being the least relevant kingdom by a country mile. They have a tough enough attitude and a pretty laid-back culture. It's almost as if they're the only ones smart enough to know how to keep the Grimm from sniffing around. Then everything changed with the Fire Nation. The Schnee Dust Company came, so now it's just a pit in the middle of the desert. I like these videos more than I liked the previous batch. There's just not a lot of deep stuff to get into in just over 2 minutes, and until the end of Volume 4 it'll be hard to fairly judge them against their peers. Maybe they'll hold up, maybe they won't. So until next time, where I cover Volume 4, Episode 1, The Next Step, thanks for watching.